There you go.
Alright, hi Michael, it's Travis again. We're going to reassemble the frame, and the first thing we're going to do is reconnect the wire. And there's a couple specific things that we want you to do to keep it waterproof. And I laid it on the ground just so that we could connect the wire without having to hang the frame or anything like that. So what I'm going to do first is put a little shrink wrap tubing. We'll include that in the box for you. Slip that over here, and then there's one specific way that this goes back together, as I mentioned upon taking it apart, and there's a little notch in there, so you pretty much can't put it together wrong. So it slips back together like that, and then just for extra waterproofing, I'm going to wrap a little tape around the connection there.
Yeah, Shimano says that you can short circuit the wires, and it's a big problem if you get water in this system. So we go through little methods to be triple sure we're not going to have any water.
Yeah, I don't think they anticipated a breakaway frame when they designed it.
Yeah.
So I have the tape on there. That should be good and waterproof, but just for extra measure, we're going to use a little shrink wrap. And we'll make sure that this is going to be the proper size shrink wrap when we
man at work.
obviously be careful not to overheat the.
There you go. This is Eminem, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the music either. So that's good, and as you can see, it's a professional electrical connection. So I'm going to bring this junction together. And the first one to do here is just to make sure that the wires are not in the way of the junction. So you don't want those zip ties getting squished or the wire getting squished in there. So I just make sure that this is tucked up inside. Zip ties are tucked up in there. That one started. That one started. Okay.
That's so freaking cool.
And then if you don't have a bike stand, you can do this on the floor too.
Why'd you disconnect that again?
I was just feeling the threads. Use the tool here.
They don't bother getting it too tight for this display.
Right. So basically you just snug that down. It's pretty much close to as tight as you can get it with the tool. I already greased the threads and everything, so it shouldn't be too crazy hard to remove and thread off with your hands. So then we go back to the handlebars. There's this. There's the cardboard sleeve. Slip the handlebar back on. Top cap. And so this is a pretty critical point in there's a technical adjustment here. This is the bearing mechanism that allows you to steer the bike, and so you have to tighten this down, this top cap here, enough to where there's no play in the bearings, but enough to where it doesn't bind the headset, where it still should turn freely.
Yeah, so it's just lightly snugged down, lightly.
So you can see, I'm just kind of compressing it all together here.
Snap it in.
want to do is reattach the fork, and now that's all compressed together. It should move freely, and there should be no play whatsoever. I'm going to take this nut from the back of the brake here, slide it back through. There's only one hole it can go through there. Put the nut back on the back side. And again, you can get this super tight. Don't want that front brake really moving around. So, this is a torque wrench that's set to a specific torque, so you don't have to worry about it. It's set to 5 Newton meters, and you're going to line everything up. Sometimes I'll wait until I get the front wheel in there to get it fully secure. But you want the stem to be in line with the frame and the front wheel. So, for the sake of the demonstration, we'll do it when the wheel's not in there. Just align everything up. And then these bolts here, I'm going to torque them evenly. And I'll show you the sound you're looking for from this tool. You hear that? That means it's reached torque. And I always just check back and forth a few times just to make sure that we've reached torque. Sometimes things load up and that can affect it differently, so I just make sure that it's definitely at the torque that it needs to be.
So that's a Ritchie torque wrench. We're going to include it in the box as well.
So then connect our wire here, and again this can only go together in one specific way. There's a little arrow that should line up with another arrow on the other side here, and these you can just pretty much attach with your fingers, or actually you can slide this on here.
Oh, that's, I wondered about that.
And you can just pop them together. So,
oh, clever.
And then I'm just going to attach, rethread the rear. Right, yeah. Well, I'm just going to attach this first.
Okay.
So in order to thread this, I want slack in it. So I'm just going to thread this together.
Oh, I see, right.
And again, good and tight. Super tight. You could even use a wrench on there if you want, but it's not necessary. So that's tight together. And then here, I'm just squeezing the brake, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create slack so that I can put the brake stop right there.
There you go.
And so we have all wires connected. Now all I got to do is put the wheels in, make some final checks. Okay, and it is going to be up to you because we did detach the front brake to make sure that the front brake is centered. And so the way to do that is pull the front brake when the wheel's all the way up in, pull the front brake, and you shouldn't get any wheel deflection there. So if that's the case, what you can do is loosen up the back nut here just a little bit. Turn it whichever way. What I usually do is I just use the front brake, pull it.
Oh, you squeeze the brake, tighten the bolt.
Tighten the bolt, and it should almost like self-center.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so much more simple.
So and then I just tighten it back down, and since all the adjustments were originally made, you shouldn't have to readjust the brakes any more than that. And then the rear wheel will slide back in.
Yeah, nothing to it.
Yeah, just like any other normal wheel. Down.
That's it. Gears work, everything works perfectly just because of the nature of the way the bike's designed.
There's all that. The last thing I'm just going to check is I'll pull the bike out of the stand. stand over it and make sure I got that stem centered.
And then the front brake, what technique do you use to make sure the headset is actually adjusted right?
I pull the front brake, and you want to like pull the front brake and pretty much move the wheel back and forth. And I put my fingers right here on the top of the headset, and you shouldn't feel any like clunking or motion there. What that indicates is that this whole headset didn't get enough compression and the bearings are still loose. So if you feel any play in that headset whatsoever, reloosen these bolts, tighten this top cap in that order. So again, if it's a little bit loose, loosen these bolts, tighten the top cap a little bit until you can check the play, and then realign the stem and tighten these stem clamp bolts back down again.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, Michael. Enjoy.